Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will teach you about inheritance in object-oriented programming, and you will learn how to implement it in practice, as well as some common errors and mistakes that beginners make. This video is part of a series where I teach you everything that you need to know about object-oriented programming. So in case that you didn't watch the previous videos, I'm going to link the entire playlist here and also in the description, so make sure to watch the previous videos of this series. In the previous videos, we started building this application. So in this video, I'm going to explain what we have created so far, and then we are going to learn what is inheritance and apply our knowledge about inheritance in order to add some new functionalities to this application. Hey there! If your goal is to learn programming and start a successful career, build interesting and useful applications, and if you enjoy learning from my YouTube videos, then you should definitely enroll in my practical programming course. I will take you from beginner to expert in just a few months, and I will give you all of the support and help that you need to achieve your goals. In the course, you will work on realistic projects, you will get access to a large community of successful developers, and everything that you need to learn will be on one place. You just need to follow the plan that I have created for you. And those of you who finish the course successfully will get a special certificate that is going to open a lot of job opportunities for you. In the description, you can find a coupon code to save some money. And if you're not sure if this course is for you or not, we have 7-day money-back guarantee, which means that if you don't like it for any reason, you will get all of your money back. No questions asked. So now, instead of coming up with excuses, use this opportunity to finally learn programming and transform your life, because you really have nothing to lose and a lot to gain. So let me show you the application that we currently have, and then I will show you what we want to achieve. So let's start our application. By the way, if you want to download my code and if you want to have the same project that I have here, in the description I will leave a link to my GitHub repository so that you can download this same application that I currently have. So this is the application that we have built in the previous videos. And here, if I enter owner, let's say Saldina, and I say create account, a bank account for that owner will be created. This is the name of the owner, account number, and then balance is initially 0. Let's add another bank account. Let's say Elon, create account. So another bank account will be created. And here we have deposit and withdraw functionality. So if I select a bank account and I enter the amount, let's say 100, and I say deposit, that amount will be deposited to my balance. And then also if I select that same bank account and I say, for example, 50, but this time I click on withdraw, that amount will be subtracted from my balance. So this is the application that we currently have. And now I will show you what we want to achieve and the functionalities that we want to add to this application. Here is finished application that we want to build. And you can already notice that there is a difference between this application and this application that we have currently. And the difference is in this field here. This application that we want to build has an additional field called interest rate. And what we want to achieve is we want to have two different types of bank accounts. We want to have a normal regular bank account, and then also we want to have a savings bank account. So now let me show you what is the behavior of this application that we want to implement. So if I enter here owner, let's say Saldina, and I don't enter interest rate, I just say create account. In that case, a normal regular bank account will be created. But if I enter owner and I also enter interest rate, let's say 2%, this time when I click on create account, this here will be savings bank account, which gives you additional 2% of interest on your savings. Now, this savings bank account has the same properties as a regular bank account. So it also has owner, account number, and balance, and it also has the option to deposit and withdraw money. So basically, savings account has everything the same as a regular normal bank account, plus one special thing, and that is interest rate. So why is this important? Well, it is important because if you select a regular bank account and you want to deposit, for example, $50, when I say deposit, that amount will be deposited to my balance. But if I select savings bank account and I want to deposit $50. In that case, I will get $50 plus 2% of interest. Now, in real life, banks will not give you this interest money immediately when you deposit your money. Instead, you will need to keep your money in your savings account for a year, for example, and only after that period you can get your interest money as well. So the reason why I implemented this functionality so that it gives you the interest money immediately instead of after a year of saving is because we want to learn programming right now and we want to see how our functionalities work instead of waiting for a year. So this here is really bad example if you want to learn about banks and how money works, because banks will definitely not give you this interest money immediately, but it is also a good example if you want to learn programming and if you want to understand what is inheritance. So let's explain what is inheritance on this example here. We already said that in our application we have bank account class, and bank account class has owner, account number, and balance, those three properties. And now what we want to do is we want to add a different type of bank account called savings account, and that savings account will have absolutely the same properties as a regular bank account, so it will also have owner, account number, and balance, plus one additional property, and that is going to be interest rate. So how would you create savings account class? There are two ways to do it: without inheritance and with inheritance. And now I will show you both of these approaches in practice. So let's stop our application, and here to our project, what I want to do is I want to add new class called savings account. So let's right click on the project and click on add new item. And here I want to select class and I will call it savings account. Like this. So savings account and click on add. This is our savings account class, and let's change it to be public like this. And as I said, savings account will have everything the same as bank account class has, plus one additional property, and that is interest rate. So there are two ways to implement that. The first way would be without inheritance, and that would be the following. So I will go to my bank account class and I will copy all of these properties that bank account has, so owner, account number, and balance. And then I will go to my savings account and I will paste them here. And then I will add additional properties that are specific to savings account, and that is interest rate. So let's add interest rate. Let's say public decimal interest rate like this, and it is going to have a regular getter and setter like this. So this here is one way to create your savings account class so that it has the same properties as bank account class, plus this one additional property. This here is one way to do things, but this is not the proper way, because in programming you should really avoid copying and pasting your code unless it is absolutely necessary. So now let me show you how we can do this in a better way with the help of inheritance. So when you are creating savings account class, instead of copying these three properties from our bank account, what you can do is you can simply say that savings account will inherit from bank account like this. So you simply put these two dots, so column sign, and then you write the name of the class that you want to inherit from. And in this case, you will not need to copy these properties from our bank account class. So once more, this here is called child or derived class, and then this here is called base or parent class. And what inheritance means is that our child class is going to inherit everything, so all of the properties and all of the functionalities from its parent class, and then here you can add the properties and functionalities that are specific only to your child class. And with this, we have implemented inheritance, But if you're a beginner, then you will probably be confused by this red squiggly here. So why do we still have this error? Well, if you read the text of this error as a beginner, you will probably not understand what it means. So now let me explain why do we still have this red squiggly. The reason why we have this error is because this class here does not have a proper constructor. So now let's create a constructor for savings account class. In one of the previous videos of this series, I already explained what are constructors and how to use them. So in case that you skipped that video, I will link it here and also in the description. So make sure to watch it, because now we will just implement the constructor without repeating what I have already explained in that video. But if you want to learn in more detail about constructors, then make sure to watch that video. It will be linked in the description. So let's create a constructor. Let's say public savings account. And as soon as I add this constructor, you will notice that the little red squiggly that we had here, it has disappeared. And that is because we have created a constructor. But we still have this red squiggly here because this is not the proper constructor that we need. So now let's create a proper constructor. So now the question is, what are we missing here? So what do we need in order to create savings account? Well, we need to enter owner's name and interest rate. And we will receive those two things as parameters in our constructor because the user is going to enter them on the form. So then I will pass them as a parameters to my constructor. So I will have string owner and then decimal interest rate. Like this, let's just make this to be camel case. So decimal interest rate and owner, those are going to be two parameters that I need to receive inside my constructor. So based on these two parameters, I can create my savings account. But here comes another error, another mistake that many beginners make, and that is the following. Because we have created this inheritance, that means that our savings account class has access to all of the public properties of its base class. So that means that here I can say owner will be equal to this parameter here. And even though I don't have this owner property inside my savings account, I have still inherited this property from my parent class. So here I can access it. And I can also access other properties of my base class. So I can say account number will be equal to GUID.new GUID, like this. And I can initialize this property as well. But just because you can do this, it doesn't mean that you should do it, because there are many problems that can happen if you try to initialize your properties and your classes in this way. And in order to avoid all of those problems, now I'm going to show you what is the proper way to create a constructor for this class. In programming, there is one very important rule which says that each class should initialize and construct only its own properties. So that means that in our case, savings account should only initialize this property. This is the only property that truly belongs to savings account. And then bank account should take care of initializing and constructing the properties that belong to this class. And these two are the properties of bank account class. So we should not initialize them in the constructor of our savings account. So inside this constructor, the only thing that we need to initialize is interest rate. So interest rate will be equal to this parameter that we have received here. So interest rate is the only thing that we should initialize inside this constructor. And then owner and account number and balance, those should be initialized in the constructor of the base class. So what I need to do is here, when this constructor is invoked, I will also say that base constructor should be invoked as well. And since our base constructor receives owner as a parameter, I will pass that to my base constructor. So if I go to bank account, you will notice that this constructor here, it receives the owner of the bank account, and then it initializes these three properties. So owner, account number, and balance. Those are the properties that belong to bank account, and it should take care of initializing its own properties. And then our savings account will initialize the interest rate, and it will just invoke base constructor and pass the things that are necessary for the base constructor. So this here is the proper and correct way to implement the constructor of a child class. So once more, child class will initialize only its own properties, and then it will invoke the constructor of the base class or parent class and pass the parameters that are necessary for the base class itself. And you can invoke that base constructor by doing this. And then inside these parentheses, you will pass the parameters that are necessary for the base constructor. So with this, we have implemented inheritance between these two classes. We have our child class, which inherits from its parent class. And then here we have one property that is specific to the child class itself. And here we have the constructor of the child class, which is going to initialize its properties. And then we are also invoking the constructor of the base class, and we are passing the properties of the base class into the base constructor. So now let's go to the user interface of our Form 1. And here I want to add a control where I can enter the interest rate. So let's move this button. And what I want to add is going to be a label and then a numerical control. So here I will open Toolbox and I will find label control, drag and drop it onto my form, so here. And then also I want to add numerical up-down control, so let's find that as well. It is numeric up-down, and let's drag and drop it here, like this. So I will change the text of this label, right-click on it, go to Properties, and the text will be interest rate. And here let's put the percentage sign inside these parentheses like this. And then I also want to change the name of this control here. So right click on it, go to Properties, and the name property will be, let's call it interest rate num. So interest rate numerical like this. This is the name that we will use in our code to access this control. And let's just make it a little bit bigger like this. Okay, so now we can enter owner and interest rate. By the way, for this numerical field, we already have this default validation here, which says that maximum number that you can enter into this field will be 100, and then minimum number will be 0. So in case that you want to change that, you can change it here. For me, this is perfectly fine. So minimum interest rate will be 0, and then maximum interest rate will be 100. So now let's implement this functionality so that when the user enters just the owner, we will create a regular bank account. And when the user enters both owner and interest rate, in that case, we will create savings bank account. So let's see what is happening when we try to create new account. I will double click on this button, and that is going to open its event handler. So this is the code that will be executed when we try to create new account. Here we first check if the owner text is null or empty, which means if the user has entered the name of the owner, because if this here is null or empty, then we will simply return because we cannot create a bank account without the owner. But if this here is not null or empty, then we will proceed and we will execute this part of the code. So we will create a new bank account with this owner, and then we are going to add that bank account into our bank accounts list, and then we will refresh our grid. And this method, refresh grid, it does these two things. It simply sets the data source of the grid to null, so it clears it, and then it sets it to this list here, which contains all of the bank accounts that we currently have. So that is going to refresh our grid, and then we will simply clear this owner text control. So now let's see how we can determine if we want to create a regular bank account or savings bank account. So here, before we create a regular bank account and add it to our list, we also want to check if the user has entered interest rate, because if he has entered interest rate and the owner text, in that case, we will not create regular bank account. In that case, we will create savings bank account. So let's do that here. Let's say if interest rate numerical value is greater than 0, in that case, what I want to do inside these parentheses is I want to create savings bank account and add it to this list. Else, which means that if this interest rate numerical value is not greater than 0, then the user wants to create a regular bank account. So I will put this code here inside these parentheses, like this. So here will be creation of savings bank account, and then here will be the creation of regular bank account. So let's add the code here. I will say savings account, and let's call it savings account. So I want to create a new savings account, and here I need to pass two parameters. I need to pass owner text box text, that is going to be the name of the owner, and then also I need to pass the value of my interest rate, like this. Okay, so after I have created savings account, then I need to add it into my bank accounts list. So here I will say bank accounts.add, and what I want to add is this savings account here. So now this code here will be used to check which type of bank account we want to create. So if we want to create regular bank account, or if we want to create savings account, and then it will create that specific bank account and it will add it to this list here. And now I just want to make this code a little bit shorter, so I will not change the functionality. I will just make the code a little bit easier to understand. So instead of creating this account and then adding it to the list, I can do that inside the same line. So here I can say bank accounts.add, and then I can create this bank account and add it in the same line, like this. So bank accounts.add, what do you want to add? Well, I want to add new savings account with these two properties that will be used in order to construct that account. And please don't forget two parentheses here. Okay, so in that case, I don't need these curly brackets, and I will do the same inside this else block. So again, bank accounts.add. What do I want to add? Well, I want to create a new bank account, and this will be passed to the constructor, and that object will be added to my list. So then I also don't need this line, and I don't need these two curly brackets, like this. So this is a small trick that I wanted to show you and teach you how you can make your code shorter and easier to understand. The functionality has still stayed absolutely the same, but this is just a shorter way to write the same thing. So now, after we have created and added appropriate bank account into our list, we are going to refresh our grid, and then we will clear this property. And also one more thing that I want to clear is going to be the value of our interest rate. So here I will say interest rate numerical.value will be equal to 0, so that I clear that also, so that user experience is better. So that is all that we need to do. And now let's start our application and let's test how this works. So if I enter owner Saldina and I say create account, this here is going to be a regular normal bank account. But if I enter here, for example, Elon, and I also add interest rate, this time when I say create account, this account is going to be savings account. Now, since we currently cannot see any difference between a regular bank account and a savings bank account, you maybe don't even trust me that this is regular bank account and this is savings bank account. So let me prove that. Let's close our application and let's go to our savings account class. And here inside the constructor, when I'm constructing the base part of my savings account and I'm passing the owner, what I want to do is I also want to pass some additional text. So I will say owner plus, and here let's add these little parentheses, and here we can say, for example, S for savings. So this way we will know which is regular bank account and which is savings bank account. So let me start the application again. So now if I say Saldina and I click on create account, this here is a regular bank account. But if I say Elon and here I enter some interest rate, for example 3%, when I say create account, as you can see here it says Elon, and then inside these parentheses we have letter S, which indicates that this here is savings bank account. And what would be better, instead of just having this S inside parentheses, is to have the actual interest rate. So let's do that. So here, instead of passing this S, I will just open parentheses like this, and then I will say, please pass the interest rate itself, and then let's close parentheses, and here I will add this percentage symbol. So now if I start the application and I add, for example, Elon with the interest rate of 2, when I create that bank account, here you will see Elon and then 2%, indicating that this here is savings account. And then if I add, for example, just Saldina without the interest rate, this here is going to be a regular normal bank account. So now our child class is inheriting all of the properties that our base class has. So owner, account number, and balance. And we have implemented that with the help of inheritance without having to copy our code from one class and then paste it inside another class. And here you can notice how our savings account class looks like. It is very clean and it has only those properties that are specific to the savings account itself, and then everything else is inherited from bank account. And that also means that deposit and withdraw functionalities are also inherited, which means that now we can deposit and withdraw money to our savings account as well, the same way that we can deposit and withdraw money from our regular bank account. So now if I try to deposit some money to my regular bank account, let's say $50, and I click on deposit, that amount will be deposited to the balance. And the reason for that is because the code is implemented inside the bank account class itself. If I open that class, you will notice that inside it, we have deposit functionality and we also have withdraw functionality. But if I try to do that same thing for my savings account, so I have selected savings account, and here I try to deposit $50, as you can see, that money will be deposited to the balance, but please notice that inside our savings account, we don't have deposit method. That method has been inherited from its parent class. And that is the reason why deposit functionality works absolutely the same for savings account and for regular normal bank account. Once more, that is thanks to inheritance, because savings account has inherited all of the properties and all of the behaviors, so all of the methods from its parent class. So I can also withdraw money from both of these accounts and it will also work. So if I try to withdraw money from this regular bank account, let's say 25, withdraw, as you can see, that money will be subtracted from the balance. And then I can do the same from savings account. So 25, withdraw, and as you can see, that amount will also be taken from my savings account. So this is how inheritance works and how you can implement inheritance in your code. So basically you create a child class, and that child class inherits from its parent class, which means that it has absolutely the same properties and the same behavior as the parent class itself. And then you can add some additional properties or some additional methods or behaviors to your child class. But something that I demonstrated in the beginning of this video is that we want to have a behavior that is a little bit different between our base class and our child class, and that is deposit functionality. So deposit functionality should behave differently in base class, and it should behave differently in child class. So for base class, it should deposit exactly the amount that you have entered, but for savings account, it should deposit that amount plus the interest. And that is something that you cannot implement with inheritance alone. In order to implement this functionality in the most correct way, in a proper way, you need to learn about an additional OOP concept, which is called polymorphism. So in the next video of this series, I will teach you about polymorphism and how it works in practice. Hey there! If your goal is to learn programming and start a successful career, build interesting and useful applications, and if you enjoy learning from my YouTube videos, then you should definitely enroll in my practical programming course. I will take you from beginner to expert in just a few months, and I will give you all of the support and help that you need to achieve your goals. In the course, you will work on realistic projects, you will get access to a large community of successful developers, and everything that you need to learn will be on one place. You just need to follow the plan that I have created for you. And those of you who finish the course successfully will get a special certificate that is going to open a lot of job opportunities for you. In the description, you can find a coupon code to save some money. And if you're not sure if this course is for you or not, we have 7-day money-back guarantee, which means that if you don't like it for any reason, you will get all of your money back. No questions asked. So now, instead of coming up with excuses, use this opportunity to finally learn programming and transform your life, because you really have nothing to lose and a lot to gain. So I hope that this video helped you to understand what is inheritance. If you have any questions about this topic or any questions about my practical programming course, let me know in the comment section and I will reply to your questions. And if there are any topics that you would like to see in the future, also let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up so that I know to create more videos like this one in the future. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video of this series, which will be here on the screen. Bye!